The 1970s produced some of the most powerful voices in rock history. But while Plant and Jagger became legends, other frontmen who commanded stages and ruled the airwaves simply disappeared. Tonight, we're uncovering 15 voices that defined a decade, then vanished into the shadows of rock history. Number 1. Dan McCafferty from Nazareth. Then the tides of rock began to shift. Punk exploded, disco took over, and by the early 80s, Nazareth's brand of gritty hard rock was starting to feel out of place. The hits slowed, the spotlight dimmed, but McCafferty never stopped. Through the 80s and 90s, he kept recording and touring, his voice still thunderous, even if the crowds were smaller. But by the 2000s, health issues began to take their toll. In 2013, after nearly 4 decades at the mic, McCafferty was forced to retire from touring, his legendary voice silenced, not by choice, but by illness. Just like that, one of rock's most commanding frontmen faded into the shadows. Number 2. Terry Reid. Here's a name that should be in every rock history book. Terry Reid. In 1968, Jimmy Page wanted him as Led Zeppelin's frontman. Reid turned it down, recommending some unknown kid named Robert Plant instead. That decision changed rock history and arguably cost Reid his place in it. Reid's voice was extraordinary, a soulful, bluesy instrument that could soar from whisper to wail. His 1968 album, Bang Bang You're Terry Reid, showcased a talent that rivaled anyone in rock. He had the looks, the voice, and the songs. What he didn't have was timing. While Zeppelin conquered the world, Reid released brilliant but overlooked albums. His 1973 record, River, is a masterpiece that nobody bought. He became the ultimate what-if story, the man who could have been Plant, but chose a different path. By the late 70s, he faded from view, playing smaller venues while his contemporaries filled stadiums. Number 3. Dave Byron from Uriah Heep.
Sunrise and a new day's breaking.
Uriah Heep was massive in the early 70s, and Dave Byron was their theatrical, operatic voice. With his flowing hair and dramatic stage presence, Byron helped define the fantasy rock aesthetic that would later influence countless metal bands. Byron's voice was pure theater. He could whisper like a conspirator or wail like a banshee. On classics like Easy Livin' and The Wizard, he created characters, told stories, and transported listeners to mystical realms.
The sunrise and
Uriah Heep was selling millions of records, and Byron was their undisputed star. But Byron's demons were as dramatic as his performances. Alcohol became his constant companion, and his behavior grew increasingly erratic. By 1976, the band had enough. They fired their own frontman. Byron tried solo work, but never recaptured the magic. He died in 1985 at just 38, another casualty of rock's excesses.
drift across the shore.
Number 4, James Dewar, Robin Trower Band.
Don't shine, and the moon don't move.
Most people assume James Dewar was African American. His voice, deep, soulful, and dripping with blues authenticity, seemed to come from the Mississippi Delta. In reality, he was a white Scotsman who became one of rock's most convincing soul singers. Dewar's partnership with guitarist Robin Trower produced some of the 70s most powerful blues rock. Albums like Bridge of Sighs showcased Dewar's incredible range and emotional depth.
What's so cool? Well, been a long time.
His voice could convey pain, joy, and everything between with startling authenticity. The Robin Trower Band was huge in America, selling out arenas and dominating rock radio. Dewar's voice was the perfect complement to Trower's Hendrix-inspired guitar work. But as the decade progressed, their popularity waned. Dewar continued working with various musicians, but never again reached those heights. He died in 2002, largely forgotten by mainstream rock fans.
The gods look down in anger.
Number 5. Phil May, The Pretty Things.
Never be.
Before punk, before psychedelia, there was Phil May. The Pretty Things frontman was rock's original wild man, long-haired, dangerous, and completely uncompromising. In 1964, they were considered more threatening than the Rolling Stones. May's voice was sneering and confrontational, perfect for the Pretty Things' aggressive R&B. But he was also a visionary who helped pioneer psychedelic rock with 1968's SF Sorrow, arguably the first rock opera.
Of the fading name that's never said.
May was pushing boundaries when most bands were still playing it safe. The Pretty Things influenced everyone from David Bowie to the Sex Pistols, but commercial success remained elusive. May continued leading various lineups for decades, but the band never broke through to mainstream success. He died in 2020, respected by musicians, but unknown to most rock fans. Number 6. Gary Holton, The Heavy Metal Kids. Gary Holton was proto-punk before anyone knew what punk was. The Heavy Metal Kids frontman combined theatrical glam with working-class aggression, creating a sound and image that predicted the punk explosion by several years. Holton's stage presence was magnetic, part David Bowie, part Street Fighter.
Don't you tell yourself and myself apart.
He could croon like a crooner or snarl like a punk, often within the same song. The Heavy Metal Kids built a devoted following in the UK, but never translated that success internationally. By the late 70s, Holton had moved into acting, finding success on British television. But drugs and alcohol took their toll. He died in 1985 at just 32, another talented frontman who burned out before reaching his potential.
When it looks like I'd better be correct.
Number 7. Peter French, Leaf Hound, Atomic Rooster, Cactus. Peter French possessed one of the great blues rock voices of the 70s, a powerful, soulful instrument that could handle anything from delicate ballads to crushing heavy rock. The problem was, he never stayed with one band long enough to build a lasting legacy. French fronted Leaf Hound, whose 1971 album Growers of Mushroom is now considered a proto-metal classic. His voice was the perfect match for their heavy psychedelic sound. But the band split, and French moved on to Atomic Rooster, then Cactus, then various other projects. Each band showcased French's incredible talent, but none achieved lasting success. He became rock's ultimate journeyman, always excellent, never quite finding the right situation. By the 80s, he'd largely disappeared from the music scene, his talent scattered across dozens of obscure recordings. Number 8. Nils Lofgren, Grin.
Would you believe a little bit in yourself?
Before he became Bruce Springsteen's guitarist, Nils Lofgren fronted Grin, one of the 70s most underrated bands. Lofgren's voice was earnest and emotional, perfect for the band's blend of rock, folk, and country influences. Grin released several excellent albums in the early 70s, with Lofgren's songwriting and vocals earning critical acclaim. Songs like White Lies and Moon Tears showcased his ability to craft memorable melodies and deliver them with conviction. But Grin never found commercial success. When Springsteen offered Lofgren a spot in the E Street Band, he took it, effectively ending his days as a frontman. While he found success as a sideman, his voice, once the centerpiece of his own band, became just another instrument in Springsteen's orchestra. Number 9. Rusty Day, Cactus, Amboy Dukes. Rusty Day had the voice and presence to be a major rock star. His powerful vocals and wild stage energy made him a standout in both Cactus and the Amboy Dukes. Day could match Ted Nugent's guitar intensity with his own vocal firepower. With Cactus, Day helped create some of the heaviest music of the early 70s. His voice was perfectly suited to their crushing blues rock sound. Songs like Evil and Parchment Farm showcased his ability to convey both power and emotion. But Day's career was cut tragically short. In 1982, he was murdered in Florida, the victim of a still unsolved crime. He was just 36 years old, his potential forever unrealized. Day's death robbed rock of a truly distinctive voice. Number 10. Alex Harvey, the Sensational Alex Harvey Band.
It's the only one you had. You wanna take a...
Alex Harvey was one of rock's great eccentrics, a theatrical performer who combined music hall traditions with hard rock power. The Sensational Alex Harvey Band was huge in Europe, but never broke through in America. Harvey's performances were legendary, part concert, part theater, part circus. He could be tender one moment, terrifying the next. His voice was equally versatile, capable of handling everything from gentle ballads to screaming rockers. SAHB released a string of excellent albums throughout the mid-70s, with Harvey's personality dominating every track. But American audiences never embraced their theatrical approach. Harvey died of a heart attack in 1982, just as the band was attempting a comeback. Number 11. Danny Joe Brown, Molly Hatchet. Southern rock needed a voice that could match the genre's guitar firepower, and Danny Joe Brown delivered. The Molly Hatchet frontman possessed a gritty, powerful voice that perfectly complemented the band's triple guitar attack. Brown's vocals drove classics like Flirtin' with Disaster and Gator Country, helping establish Molly Hatchet as one of Southern rock's premier bands. His voice had the perfect combination of power and soul, equally at home with rockers and ballads. But health problems plagued Brown throughout his career. Diabetes forced him to leave the band multiple times, and he struggled with the physical demands of touring. He died in 2005, his voice silenced by the same health issues that had limited his career. Number 12. Leslie West, Mountain.
Mississippi Queen, call me everything.
Leslie West was better known as a guitarist, but his voice was equally impressive. The Mountain frontman possessed a powerful, bluesy voice that perfectly matched his crushing guitar tone. Mountain's Mississippi Queen became a classic rock staple, with West's vocals and guitar work creating one of rock's most distinctive sounds. His voice was raw and emotional, capable of conveying both power and vulnerability. But Mountain never achieved the success of their contemporaries. West continued performing for decades, but never again reached the heights of the early 70s. He died in 2020, remembered more for his guitar work than his equally impressive vocals.
Mississippi Queen, if you know what I mean.
Number 13. Rod Evans, Deep Purple, Captain Beyond. Rod Evans was Deep Purple's original vocalist, but you'd never know it from the band's official history. After leaving Deep Purple in 1969, Evans was essentially erased from their story. his contributions minimized or ignored entirely. Evans possessed a smooth, melodic voice that was perfect for Purple's early progressive rock sound. Albums like The Book of Taliesin showcased his ability to handle complex arrangements and deliver memorable melodies. After leaving Purple, Evans formed Captain Beyond, creating some of the most innovative progressive rock of the early 70s. But legal battles with his former bandmates overshadowed his musical achievements. By the late 70s, he'd largely disappeared from the music scene. Number 14, Eric Bloom, Blue Öyster Cult.
Trucks twirl and moondrops burst out at you from their hiding place.
Blue Öyster Cult was one of the 70s most successful hard rock bands, but Eric Bloom never received the recognition he deserved. Often overshadowed by guitarist Buck Dharma, Bloom's vocals were crucial to the band's success. Bloom's voice was perfect for BOC's mysterious, sci-fi influenced sound. He could handle everything from the anthemic Don't Fear the Reaper to the crushing Cities on Flame with rock and roll. His stage presence was equally impressive, mysterious, and commanding. But Bloom was never considered one of rock's great frontmen, despite fronting one of the era's most successful bands. BOC continued performing for decades, but their peak popularity was behind them. Bloom remained with the band, but his voice was increasingly overlooked by rock historians. Number 15, Michael DeBar, Silverhead Detective. Michael DeBar had everything needed to be a rock star: looks, voice, charisma, and connections. The British singer fronted several bands in the 70s, including the glam rockers Silverhead and the hard rock band Detective. DeBar's voice was smooth and seductive, perfect for both glam rock theatrics and straight-ahead rock. Detective, featuring former Yes members, created some excellent hard rock in the mid-70s. DeBar seemed destined for stardom. But success remained elusive. Despite critical acclaim and industry connections, DeBar never achieved mainstream breakthrough. He eventually moved into acting and radio, his rock career becoming a footnote. His voice, once poised for greatness, was relegated to cult status. These 15 frontmen ruled the 70s, then vanished. Their stories prove talent isn't always enough. Who do you think deserved legendary status? Drop it in the comments.